Hello and welcome to another episode of Annie Casts. I'm Annie, aka Android. This game was submitted to dotacasters.com by Terodius, and it looks like it's going to be a really action-packed game, and I can't wait to check it out. So starting out in the drafting phase, the Dire is going to be picking up a lot of damage dealers, with both the Queen of Pain and the Gyrocopter able to do detrimental early damage, just really getting them down, especially if the Queen of Pain is going to level up her Shadow Strike. She can totally control the mid lane if that's where she's going to end up being put. And I think the Gyrocopter with Rocket Barrage, if he gets a nice early call down, I think that'll be just a really, really great way for him to totally control his lane. On the side of the Radiant, though, it looks like they are going to be going a little bit more of a pick-off-oriented lineup with Skywrath Mage, who's so valuable in roaming and those early kills that he can get with his Concussive Shot and Arcane Bolt, doing so much damage. And then again, the Slark with his Pounce, he can roam all over the map and get some really nice ganks and lock down his victim however he chooses. Anti-Mage and Silencer are going to be the next two picks coming down for both teams. Definitely looking for some more global map control. Silencer with his ultimate, and Anti-Mage with his ability to, if he gets a good late game going, just absolutely snowball out of control and get all over the map and get those pickoffs, get really high kill participation later on. Although he will need early and mid game pretty much to be out of the fights and on his own farming, which I don't know if they'll have room to give to him. If the Queen of Pain and Gyrocopter can accomplish their definite early aggressive strategy, then that'll be working out fine for him. But if not, Anti-Mage might not get the farm that he needs to be really productive. Magnus is going to be the final pickup for the Dire. Definitely a good choice, but it looks like, I mean, Ancient Apparition might be their solo support, and that could put a lot of pressure on him and delay any progress on his Aghanims if that's what he chooses to go. And I think that's so valuable, as his ult can do a ton of damage, completely locking down the Radiant and making sure they can't reinitiate onto any fight. So I think Ancient Apparition is going to need his level 16, going to need his Aghanims as soon as possible, and if they're putting solo support on him, is responsible for all the wards and everything else, that might hinder him a little bit. Alright, starting out on the Radiant, it looks like we are going to be having Orange on the Slark, Vanity on Skywrath Mage, Survival of the Fittest on the Silencer, Ice Smoke with Snoop on the Rubik, and some Russian characters on the Clinks. Up top on the side of the Dire, we are going to have Terodius on the Anti-Mage, Tritka on the Magnus, Prince Alibaba on the Queen of Pain, Velosterix on the Ancient Apparition, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the Gyrocopter. So it looks like we are going to be having a 3-person roam from the Radiant team up onto this rune spot. Radiant should be able to get that pretty uncontested, as Dire doesn't look like they're going to invest a whole lot of resources on that bottom slot right there. They're just going to be roaming up pretty good control out of this. Slark does level up his Pounce, so if something goes wrong, he can definitely lock down a Dire hero in place. And Rubik has not chosen what to level yet. I think there's a lot of good choices for him, and he doesn't want to commit to anything just yet. Skywrath Mage also doesn't choose what to level, does have that Mango in his inventory. Gonna be super valuable there. Survival of the Fittest might run into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. That might not end up well for him, as Rocket Barrage is skilled. Is gonna go off onto Survival of the Fittest, taking so much damage right here. Is he gonna be able to get away? He only has his Glaives leveled. I don't think that's enough damage. Ice Vortex from the Ancient Apparition is enough to slow him down and ensure that the First Blood is gonna go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Really good use of that Rocket Barrage. And they are going to secure themselves the top bounty rune, giving the Dire at least that much more of an advantage at the beginning of the game. On the bottom, Slark's going to grab the bounty rune, which, I mean, I think is fine. I think Radiant can afford to give up, Dire can afford to give up one little rune. And it looks like Radiant is going to get a pick-off on the mid Queen of Pain, which I think is just a really good pick for them, as that's going to delay her so much time. Looks like Magnus is actually going to be the mid on the side of the Dire, which I think is a good choice as well, but may have some trouble against this Clinks, who is ranged and able to dish out a lot of damage early. Does have his Searing Arrows leveled, so that's going to be just putting out that much more damage and force Magnus to play a little bit further back than he ordinarily might have to. Up top, it is going to be Survival of the Fittest trying to solo lane against an Anti-Mage, which, I mean, I think that could go either way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, once again initiating, doing a lot of damage with that Rocket Barrage. Really good body blocks, keeping Survival of the Fittest in place, making sure that he can't get out fast enough, and another Rocket Barrage is going to secure another kill onto the Gyrocopter, sitting comfortably at 2-0 at only 55 seconds into the game. Down bottom, we are going to have Slark laning up against Prince Alibaba. Looks like Alibaba is going to be grabbing an early Null Talisman, if he can afford it. Although he is dishing out a bunch of damage to the Slark with a completed Poor Man's Shield, so making sure that there's not a lot of damage taken there. In middle lane is going to be Velosterix teaming up with Tritka to make sure maybe an extra kill comes into place, but nothing so far. It looks like Ice Smoke with Snoop going to be roaming up into the river, getting some early extra damage on that, but nothing going to be coming out of that, just forcing the Queen of Pain to stay back a little bit more. I think it might be a little bit of a mistake to offlane this Queen of Pain with no support for herself. I think she does really, really well if she's guaranteed a lot of farm and a lot of harass, but it looks like she might be going down here as Rubik's going to lift her. She is going to get away with a really, really nice cheeky blink, but might not survive another concussive shot. Salve coming up for her, and she will be A-okay. Well played by Vanity, who is going to end up getting denied by Rubik, as a tower shot would have finished him off right there. So good deny on the team, but they lost a Skywrath Mage that they didn't have to, trying to commit on this Queen of Pain, who was so feisty. Up top, it is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, grabbing up the second bounty rune, actually leaving it to the Magnus, which is very smart, because Magnus does have a completed bottle, and is able to just regen himself that much more effectively with that bounty rune in there. Up top, once again, it's just going to be survival of the fittest, fighting it out with Terodius, who is pretty low, should be snapping up another Tango as soon as this one is finished. He is going to have Curse the Silent onto himself, but he will be able to blink away to safety, and wouldn't pop too much. In middle, it's going to be Velosterix trying to help out Tritka as much as he can with these early kills, but I think Velosterix just really needs the solo XP more than he needs any early kill potential. Sitting at only about halfway up a level 4, while Clinks is about the same, but that is because he's been staying a little bit farther back. In terms of last hits, Clinks is the big leader, sitting at 15 at under 3 minutes in the game with a completed Wraith Band, and is bringing out some goodies to himself on the courier. Looks like he is going to grab himself a bottle for that extra sustain. Magnus not quite able to finish off Clinks, does not have Shockwave up just yet, and I don't think that would have been just enough damage to finish him off anyway. So far, it just looks like it's a pretty even matchup. They need to make sure Terodius gets big. If he's able to get that free farm all game, if he's able to get his levels and his items, he's going to be an absolute nightmare for the Radiant team to deal with later on. But it looks like, I mean, Radiant have really nice early kill potential, as we saw earlier in the bottom lane. That lift from the Rubik can do so much damage. A nice lift and slam can really give the opportunity for Slark to set up a really nice pounce, for the Clinks to roam in there and do a lot of damage with those searing arrows. But so far we haven't really seen really cohesive kills on the side of the Radiant, but there's definitely still time in the game for that to work itself out. Clinks does sip up all his bottle charges and is still sitting at under half health, so we might need to be a little bit careful. Ice Smoke with Snoop is going to wander under this Dire Observer ward. I don't think they know it's there. Looks like they are going to be trying to camp out this 4-minute rune, and it looks like they are going to be scouted out by Prince Alibaba. I don't know if he's going to be able to initiate on that, and it looks like he might just take it. Smoke being popped underneath the Dire Observer ward by this Radiant hero, and it looks like Queen of Pain is going to be rotating on. Prince Alibaba getting lifted up, taking a lot of damage. Concussive shot from the Skywrath Mage is coming out. He does have an Arcane Bolt in 1 second if he's able to cast that off. Really beautiful Ancient Seal is going to ensure that there's enough damage to get the kill on that. And it looks like Magnus is now going to be taking a lot of damage from Vanity, as he is going to be casting another Arcane Bolt. He does have one up in another 3 seconds, but has to be careful not to run underneath the tower here. And it looks like Vanity might let Tritka out with a warning on this one, as he does not quite have the damage to finish it off. And it looks like Queen of Pain's going to be buying another TP and making sure she's going to be forcing Vanity out completely. Really beautiful blink into a Shadow Strike right there, but Ice Smoke with Snoop is a little bit relentless. Is he going to go in for a lift here? Not quite enough mana to get that off, and it looks like he's just going to be zoning Prince Alibaba back, using up her bottle charges. Up top, we are going to see Survival of the Fittest going down maybe once again to the Gyrocopter. He does have a homing missile on him, and it looks like Terodius is going to have a blink up in 5 more seconds if he can get some more mana, but another Rocket Barrage is going to do so much damage, lock him in place with that homing missile, and ensuring a nice kill for Terodius right there. He is able to finish up his Ring of Health, and it looks like he can be going for his Mana Stone soon if he wants to build into that Perseverance. And just really good control by the Clink, still sitting at the top of the last hit chart with 29 last hits so far. Is going to be picking up Gloves of Haste and Boots of Speed, so definitely early treads coming out for that guy, and I think that's going to help out so much with his stats, help him out with that mana pool if he needs it, and also just that strength and agility gain. Survival of the Fittest does now have a little bit of time to free farm here, is going to get off a nice deny, does still have a Mango in the bank if he needs to use that. He is sitting at full mana now, but that can be an issue for him later on. He's had such a tough start in this game, as he doesn't really have a whole lot of damage or survivability, and no real escape maneuvers aside from silencing up the person that's chasing him down. But, I mean, he's just 0-3-0 at this point, and there's not much that he can do about it. And it looks like Magnus is going to be going down to the Rubik, who probably gets off a really clutch lift. I did not quite pick that up, but it looks like he is just going to be taking a bottle sip and, you know, walking away pretty kindly. Like, he gets out with no real penalty. He's sitting at 2-0 and 2, and he's absolutely in control of this game. He's been rotating so much, so really good job by the Radiant making sure they put that Rubik where they need to get the most potential out of him. It looks like he's going to be rotating up into this bottom lane. Queen of Pain is sitting under tower very cautiously. She also has had just a really tough start to the game. Slark getting some really good free farm here. He does have a completed Aquila and that poor man's shield that we saw earlier. In middle lane, it looks like Gyrocopter is going to be chipping in to help Tritka get back a little bit control of his lane, but he's 0-2 and 0 at this point, with only 33 last hits at almost 7 minutes in the game, and that's just not enough for him to get the farm that he needs out of the lane. He is level 6 and does have an RP ready to go whenever he needs it, but I just don't think that has the kill potential to lock down the Clinks. Down bottom, we are going to see a tri-lane of Vanity, I Smoke with Snoop, and Slark just kind of sitting here, getting Slark the farm he needs, making sure he's not going to get initiated on. One weakness on the Radiant team so far, I'd say, is that they just don't have the vision that they need. Dire does have that really nice ward right over here, but there is no Radiant vision in return. Up top, Silence is going to be taking a lot of damage from Anti-Mage, but Anti-Mage does decide to back off just a little bit. Mid lane, it looks like Tritka might be the victim of a gank here. You know, if I Smoke with Snoop and Vanity want to go in a little bit, Concussive Shot from Vanity might be just on the mark, and he's going to cast it, slowing out that Magnus a little bit, but Magnus is able to sit comfortably on his high ground. I don't think he's going to be taking a whole lot of damage from that. And I think Homing Missile is going to be cast onto I Smoke with Snoop, but I really don't think that Dire will have the follow-up to engage on that whatsoever. Up top, I mean, Slark is just really, really deep here. I don't know how he's going to get out of this one. Ice Vortex being cast by Velocirix, making sure he's locked in place. But is there any follow-up from this? Slark is able to just really leap away. He's going to be taking some tower shots here. I don't think that'll be enough to get him down, and he'll be A-okay. Ancient Apparition just not having that early damage to finish him off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 might try to initiate onto 2 of the squishier supports on the side of the Radiant right here. He is pretty deep into Radiant territory, and it looks like there's going to be a Clinks whose skeleton walked up is going to be trying to reinitiate on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does he have the damage? I don't think so. A really nice sentry ward popped down on the side of the Dire, making sure that they know where that Clinks is at all times. I Smoke with Snoop going in for a lift onto Alibaba, and they will get that off. I Smoke with Snoop is going to go down very, very low, tick to the Queen of Pain, Shadow Strike damage, but it looks like she is going to get something for her troubles. Clinks taking a missile there, but no other re-engage coming off on the side of the Dire, so it looks like it will be a 1-for-1 trade, but I'd rather lose a Rubik than a Queen of Pain any day, so I think, once again, that trade is going to favor the Radiant. Dire just having a little bit of trouble getting the momentum they need. Queen of Pain having such a rough start in the bottom lane. In terms of KDA, she's sitting very, very low at 1 and 4, not getting what she needs to out of that solo off lane, which I think is just, once again, a mistake from her. I think instead of drafting an Anti-Mage or a Gyrocopter, maybe dealing someone with a little bit more support potential, perhaps a Marana or a Lion or someone along those lines that can still do a lot of damage, but also has the ability to support that Queen of Pain early and get her some help with those kills. She's just not as productive in an offlane than you'd think. Clinks is going to end up finishing off the Magnus mid lane as he does try to charge in pretty deep to get that Skywrath Mage, but to no luck, he is able to get back. And it looks like another initiation onto Survival of the Fittest. Once again, beautiful Rocket Barrage coming out is going to be slowed up by the Ancient Apparition, and Terodius is able to finish off that guy for a nice kill in his name. So he's sitting at 2-0 and 1, getting a lot of free farm in this lane, sitting at 30 last hits, which isn't ideal, but definitely not bad. He's able to get a lot out of the lane with a completed Perseverance already, definitely going into that early Battle Fury build, which is just so classic of an Anti-Mage. And I think Queen of Pain is just really trying to figure out how she gets big. She does have a bottle, she has a bracer just for the early survivability, which is not something you see out of a Queen of Pain all that often. She's just been having such a tough time staying alive in that lane with such an aggressive Slark pushed back behind the tier 1 tower, trying to make sure that he's keeping the creep waves back in order to let him do the most work. And it looks like Invisible Clinks is going to be trying to initiate maybe onto Alibaba. She does have her blink up if she needs it, is going to get lifted by the Rubik. Beautiful communication there, going in for a blink. Clinks is going to skeleton walk up. Is she going to try to deny herself to Roche here, as she knows she's probably still under fire by the Clinks? She will not get that off. OMG called out by the Gyrocopter, probably a little bit frustrated by the Queen of Pain's performance, but I really don't think that's down to a playing element. I think that might just be down to having a really tough lane. And also complaining that the Silencer hasn't had the easiest time either. Magnus is going to force himself over the cliff and will end up getting Terodius once again another kill onto that silencer. So beautiful engage on that part, catching him completely off guard, and there's nothing he can do to retreat. He needs a force staff, he needs a blink, he needs something to get himself out of those sticky situations that he's found himself in so often now. And it looks like there's going to be a fight breaking out at this tier 1 Radiant Tower, excuse me. Tritka stuck in the trees as Vanity does scout him out, uses his ult beautifully. Wonderful lift by the Rubik, making sure the kill is in place, but just a lot of damage coming out from that Skywrath Mage, getting those early rotations that he needs to. So, I mean, there is going to be a return kill onto the Dire, but that Silencer's just been having such a tough time that I think he's not going to be a vital asset to the Radiant team until he's able to really turn around his performance. Radiant are sitting at about 3,500 XP lead, which is going to help them out a lot in getting their ultimates first. Silencer is still sitting without his ultimate now, which is going to be a little bit tricky for him. He's not able to use that global silence that he needs to so desperately. Really beautiful curse coming out onto the gyrocopter, putting out a lot of damage. Slark is able to pick himself up a kill on that, but now he's just very deep. How's he going to be able to run away without getting scouted out by this Magnus, who is going to be skewering himself, trying to just get that range he needs to. Just not going to find out Slark. He's going to be trying to walk away, although it looks like Prince Alibaba might be trying to rotate in and catch him on the back lines of this. Pounces down. Looks like he will be getting out A-OK and grabbing himself a regen rune on the back lines of that, so good on him. Terodius once again getting some more free farm, although he is going to be the victim of one of Vanity's ganks. Beautiful blink away to dodge the concussive shot on there. And it looks like Alibaba is going to be trying to initiate onto the Slark, but just Slark putting out so much damage is going to try to get frozen up by the Ancient Apparition, but it looks like he will not be successful. Alibaba was so low, does cast her ultimate onto the Slark, able to finish him off. Beautifully done by Alibaba, able to get away with just a little bit of health, although Ice Smoke with Snoop is going to be coming in, doing a lot of damage. He does have a stolen Scream of Pain, which is able to finish off the Queen of Pain, giving her a taste of her own medicine. So Silencer is killed off by the Magnus on the back lines of that fight. I didn't quite catch the kill. Looks like a smoke coming out for the Radiant support heroes, trying to initiate onto Terodius. Beautiful reaction by him as he is going to jump out of the Skywrath Mage ults, making sure he takes as little damage as possible from that, and it's going to be regenning up pretty quickly from that Perseverance. He is not too far from his Battle Fury. He already has the completed Claymore. He just needs a little bit more gold to finish that off, and then he's going to be pretty much unstoppable in terms of farm. Looks like Rubik is going to be walking right into that Ancient Apparition ult. Beautifully done by him, but I don't think it was saved until the right moment in the fight, as, you know, now Ancient Apparition is going to be going down himself to that Slark. Looks like Alibaba is going to be silenced up, taking a lot of damage. Clinks is coming in, hitting like an absolute truck. Call down from the gyrocopter doing what it can, but he will get picked off by the Clinks. And it looks like overall it is a 2-for-2 trade, but I think the Dire just lost a little bit more, losing that Ancient Apparition that could have popped another really clutch ult, and losing that gyrocopter that's been such a core. Terodius trying to blink away from Clinks, and will get away safely. Beautiful RP from Tritka, catching out Survival of the Fittest, but I think that just might have been a little bit misplaced, as he didn't really have a lot of follow-up, and, I mean, what else was he going to get off of that? Except for, you know, he got off the RP, but he didn't get off any of the other damage, and he just kind of let himself die. He went in a little too deeply. AA is going to be casting an ult. They will be very much off the mark, as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is going to stay up a little bit and not walk into there. Vanity might be trying to initiate on the gyrocopter. I just don't think he has enough damage at this point in the game. Middle lane, it has been Rubik just getting some nice free farm towards the end of that engage. Does have completed Arcane Boots, that's going to help him out a lot with his sustain. No stolen abilities at the moment, but that could definitely change in the next team fight as he gets closer to a Dire hero that's going to be putting out a lot of damage. AA is smoked up. I believe that was a solo smoke, so I don't know what he's going for besides a little bit of safety. Looks like he is going to be trying to initiate onto the Rubik and the Clinks perhaps, but we'll get a smoke popped and we'll run away. Definitely scared of those two as he's so squishy, sitting only about 720 HP. He does not have any real items of his own. I think that Aghanim Scepter is so important. Like I was saying before in the drafting phase, if that's their only support on the side of the Dire, he's just going to be missing out on a lot of that money that he needs for himself. Terodius is going to be taking a lot of damage, lifted up, homing missiled up, and is going to take the Skywrath ult right to the face. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is going to end up going down as well to the Clinks, but beautiful call down and beautiful ult by the Ancient Apparition cast before it dies, and might be able to finish off the Clinks here, but it is only a level 1 Ancient Apparition ult, and he does get away with a little over 200 HP. GG called out by the gyrocopter. I don't know if I'd say that quite yet. I mean, yeah, the Dire are having a little bit of trouble, but Silencer's been almost negligible in his participation in the game. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seems a little bit toxic at this point, but he is correct in saying that they're just having a really tough time and getting out-rotated a little bit by the Radiant. There's only about a 7,000 XP lead at 16 minutes in the game, which, you know, I've seen teams come back from worse, but it certainly isn't ideal if you're the Dire team. You're going to have to play really cleanly. You're going to have to keep farming up that anti-mage and make sure that he gets the levels he needs to be really productive. So far he is level 10, which is pretty good in terms of levels. I mean, he's doing pretty well. He's sitting up in the top 4, but there's just so much that his team needs to make up for. Gyrocopter's sitting only at level 7, and he's just such a key piece of the Dire's damage that he really needs those levels. He needs those items. He has no big items at this point, so I don't know if this guy's really in a position to say GG when he's struggling. He has, I mean, essentially starting items at this point in the game. Radiant are just kind of sitting mid, trying to get down this tier 1 tower. They don't have any towers to their name just yet. Actually, they do have the tier 1 bottom, excuse me, but they do need that mid tower to really unlock a good portion of the map for them to use. Down bottom, it looks like Alibaba is going to get pinged out by the Clinks. Is he going to try to initiate on this? She is hasted up, walking really, really fast. Does have a dust in her inventory if she gets initiated on by the Clink. She does have a Sonic Wave ready to go if she needs to use it. Is going to be just sitting on the high ground, hopefully forcing her team to initiate on the front lines of the fight and forcing any survivors back, and she can pick them off easily with her ultimate or a nice placed Scream of Pain. Looks like Tritka is taking a lot of damage, going to get lifted up by the Rubik, taking a Skywrath Mage ult. Will end up living from the Skywrath Mage ult, but is going to go down to a right click. He will. Silencer's going to finish him off. It looks like Alibaba is going to be jumping in, getting herself a double kill that's just so needed, but Clinks is going to get himself a monster kill streak, which is definitely not ideal. So Dire do get something out of the fight, but Radiant, just they pick off the Anti-Mage and the Magnus, which are two of the biggest cores that just, honestly, they can't die if the Dire want to have any chance of getting back in this game. Looks like Clinks is going to be fighting the Queen of Pain for that double damage rune. Looks like she will take an arrow, but will get away. A-okay is going to pick herself another branch, which is, I mean, 18 minutes in is not usually the time where you see branches coming out for your core heroes, but anything's possible. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 using the Rocket Barrage to the best of his ability. Will be getting away for the moment. Ancient Apparition ult connects onto the Slark, but isn't going to be doing quite enough damage to bring him down. He will get away just fine with another kill in his name. Beautiful charge in and skewer by the Magnus, but it's not quite on the mark, and they don't have enough vision to finish it off. It looks like Eye Smoke with Snoop doing the right-click damage he can. Does have a completed Shadow Blade, which, man, I'm not so sure about. With the addition of the Glimmer Cape, I almost wish he would have gone that for that magic resist that he desperately needs. And it does have the same fade time as the Shadow Blade too, so it's not like he's going to be missing out on any of the invisibility power. Alibaba is getting silenced up. Will she end up going down here? It looks like she will. Skywrath ult is once again on the mark, so really, really good job. Does pick himself up a 4-staff recipe, which is going to be really, really helpful in terms of the mobility of the Radiant and of himself, forcing either the Dire heroes into his abilities or forcing himself close enough to get that range that he needs for the concussive shot or the arcane bolts. So, I mean, Dire are just really struggling in this game. I don't know how much longer they can hold off. Anti-Mage isn't really getting the farm he needs to, as he does have 3 deaths to his name, which, I mean, any more than 3 deaths on an Anti-Mage, and he's just going to be severely slowed down in terms of his item progression and his ability to impact the fights later on. Anti-Mage is definitely a late-game hero, but that doesn't mean he can just completely AFK for the early game. His team is struggling so much that Queen of Pain really not able to provide that early game impact that she needed. Does get the double kill in that last big engage, but is it enough? Beautiful lift from Eye Smoke with Snoop is coming out, and looks like they will be able to pick off the Ancient Apparition very, very easily. They're just rotating super, super deep. Radiant are almost fearless in terms of going into this Dire jungle. Dire do have a bunch of wards up. They do have sentries and observers pretty much all over their map, but I mean, it's just not enough to keep the Radiant heroes out, even if they know where they are. There's nothing they can really do against these ganks, and it looks like beautiful ult coming out once again from the Skywrath Mage is going to be able to solo a Queen of Pain. Will go down before he completes that, but Alibaba barely getting out with his life and does rely on a Magnus, and it looks like Rubik is going to roam in and just complete that kill for his teammate. So, I mean, once again, if you're having your Queen of Pain finished off by mostly by a Skywrath Mage and a couple of hits from a Rubik, that's just showing how squishy Queen of Pain is and how much survivability she's lacking. Down bottom, and it's going to be Slark, who's been left to free farm virtually the whole game. Going to take a homing missile under tower. Going to take a skewer by the Magnus. Is going to get stunned up there. Does have his ultimate if he needs it for that quick regen. Will be popping it. Is he going to try to reinitiate onto 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? I think that's a little bit cocky, but it looks like he will get away with it for the time being. Might end up going down to the Magnus. Beautiful blink by the Magnus, ensuring that he's dead. Body blocking him in a little bit and getting him in range of that last right click. Roshan is going to be going down solo to the Clinks with a little bit of help from that silencer, but I mean, Clinks is definitely the big damage dealer on that one, and does have a completed Orchid as well as an Aegis, so when this guy initiates, he's gonna get out with a kill, and he's gonna get out with his life, whether or not he has to pop that Aegis. Anti-Mage doing what he can to help his farm up top. Does have a completed Battle Fury now, as well as a Blade of Alacrity, so most likely going into a Yasha for that one. But man, he's just been having such a tough time, sitting at 4, 3, and 1. Pretty high kill participation, but man, he just doesn't have a lot to his name at this point. 21 minutes in, I'd expect a completed Yasha, and maybe a poor man's shield rather than that stout shield for a little bit more damage resistance. Tritka is going to be having, once again we saw the completed blink in the last fight, but nothing really major on top of that. I don't know what his first item's going to be, but he definitely needs to start working on it. The blink is really vital to that Magnus ultimate, but where's his damage? Where's his sustain in those fights? And it looks like this famous duo of Vanity and I Smoke with Snoop are going to be rotating up once again. They are going to find out 5 dire heroes, so I really don't know if this is a big mistake that they're going to be making. Beautiful RP is going to be catching the Clinks in place, but man, that was just that was a one-man RP. I don't know if they can do that. And Rubik is going to be able to steal RP and use it to his advantage. Beautiful call down from the Gyrocopter, doing what he can to zone out the Radiant heroes. There is vision on the Clinks for just a little bit longer, but he is going to get away pretty safely. He's going to try to reinitiate. Looks like Tritka will be charging in. He is going to do a heavy amount of damage to Tritka, going to be taking a concussive shot, and it looks like he is going to be going down eventually on the back lines of that fight. Clinks picking himself another kill, but it looks like Terodius might be trying to get another kill onto the Clinks. Clinks getting out just barely, is going to finish off Anti-Mage with his last breath. Silencer picking himself up a double kill, but I think we'll end up going down to the Gyrocopter as he's able to put out a huge amount of damage, but no, it looks like the fight will just kind of stalemate out. Gyrocopter retreating back to his tower, and the Radiant heroes sitting very, very low in lane. Might go down to a... Oh man, that Sonic Wave was just totally off the mark. Definitely not close enough to get any real use out of that. Queen of Pain's going to definitely pay for her mistake. So definitely sad face indeed. I agree with Tritka on that one. She just didn't really calculate where that ult was going to hit. I mean, maybe she thought she had Aghanim's range or just more damage than she did, but it seemed like there was definitely a huge delay in when she saw the heroes and when she clicked the button. So, yeah, once again, that whiffed ult is definitely going to cost them the kills on both the Clinks and the Silencer that I think the Dire team desperately needed to get back into that fight. Slark is having a tough time. He's going to be taking an AA ult pretty heavily, but does have that Silver Edge for more invisible power, so I think Dire need to pick up a gem at some point, but who's going to hold it? Honestly, they don't have a lot of survivability. I'd say the Magnus is their best bet, as he does have almost 700 HP. But is he going to be useful holding that gem? It looks like Terodius is going to be 1v1ing it out with that Slark. Is the Slark going to Silver Edge and try to reinitiate here? It doesn't look like it. Terodius will get out A-OK, but does have to go back to Fountain to regen from only a couple right hits from a Slark. Definitely not something ideal for an Anti-Mage at 24 minutes in the game, which is, I mean, about the time that he should start having a really big game impact. He shouldn't really need, you know, another 20 minutes of farm to be useful, but that might be what it takes for him to have a really, really convincing late game. And it looks like there is going to be a little bit of a stalemate going on as the Dire heroes are going to be protecting their mid tower, and the Radiant are just going to be clearing out the top Dire jungle, making sure that there's really not much for the Dire to get out of it. They don't feel safe crossing the river. The Radiant have had unbelievable map control this game. Special shout out to the Rubik and the Skywrath Mage, as they've been working so cohesively as a duo, going around, locking down, get the kills they need to. Beautiful ults from the Skywrath Mage, as well as beautiful lifts from the Rubik, just doing exactly what they need to lock down the Dire heroes and make them feel very unsafe, forcing the AA to buy as many wards as possible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Super quick and easy kill for that Clinks, just providing him a little bit more food to pick up his next item. He does have a completed Daedalus. He's just going to be absolutely detrimental in terms of damage. He's hitting so hard. He's hitting at over 300 a hit, and that's without critting. So Man, those crits are detrimental. I don't see how the Dire heroes are going to compete with that damage, as none of them really have the HP to stand up to that, and they don't have any counter initiate as well. Ult from the AA is off the mark. Is AA going to be going down here? Beautifully placed Skywrath Mage ult is once again going to get that kill, and Clinks is able to finish off the tower on the back lines of that fight. In terms of net worth, in terms of net XP, almost 20,000 in favor of the Radiant. This is getting a little bit out of control, and Magnus is forced to skewer away just to get out of that engage. Beautiful pounce by Slark. Is going to be a little bit off the mark, but is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going to go down here anyway? It looks like Slark is going to be hitting so hard. Does pop his ult to ensure that he has enough survivability up in those tier 4s, but will get the kill for himself anyway. And it looks like, man, they're going to be losing a set of racks here at 26 minutes in the game, and Dire are in a very unfortunate position going forward. Magnus does not have the damage he needs to get anything done. Prince Aliyababa is getting lifted up just to keep herself out of the fight. Her ult is up, but knowing what she used her last ult for, I don't think that's going to be any consolation. Survival of the Fittest is going to be on a killing spree after that really difficult start he had early game. His killing spree is going to go down to the Anti-Mage, and the Magnus is going to go down to the Slark. So just a lot of back and forth in these fights, but overall the Radiant are just getting more out of it. 2 buybacks. The Queen of Pain and the Magnus do buyback. I think they're the big damage dealers, and they're what this needs, what this fight needs to turn back into the Dire's favor, but it looks like they're just going to kind of stalemate away. Clinks is ready to re-engage. Slark is ready to re-engage whenever he needs to, but it might be a little risky going that deep into the Dire territory. Is going to pounce down, finds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Beautiful lift by Ice Smoke with Snoop. Is going to end up going down. Wonderful call from the Gyrocopter. Beautiful ult by the Queen of Pain as well. Does catch out too, and the AA ult connects as well, but just not enough damage to bring down these Radiant heroes no matter what they do. Clinks is going to be just barely getting back to base. Is going to be healing himself up as that AA ult does expire. Terodius is going to be going in onto the Rubik. Rubik does have a telekinesis. Is going to be using that. And it looks like he is just going to be picking up a Manta off the courier. I think he's just going to go back to farming, although, Rubik knows where he is now. He's going to be picking out his current location. Is going to be picking off the courier that Terodius brought to himself earlier to pick up that Manta. There was nothing on it, but that's going to delay any item progression that the Dire has out of base. He's going to be going back to base himself. That Manta is going to be very, very useful, but, I don't think he has the kills to back it up. That damage is going to help him out a lot. That survivability, those extra illusions are going to help him push, but where are they going to push to? They don't feel safe anywhere on the map, as Radiant just have complete control with really aggressive wards being placed, all their creeps being put in, and yeah, I just don't think there's enough of anything to be going on. Rubik does steal Cold Feet. Might be looking to replace that in a couple of seconds, as I don't think it's an ideal spell for them to be using unless he wants to combo it with his telekinesis and lift to ensure the Cold Feet get used, but I just don't think that's the value that Rubik needs, as he's been doing such a good job initiating all over the map and just making all of the Dire heroes feel really unsafe. Usually if you're one of the cores in the Dire team, an Anti-Mage, a Gyrocopter, a Magnus, you feel safe going up against a Rubik late game, but not in this case. Clinks is going to pick himself up another kill on the Gyrocopter in this kind of middle jungle area of the Dire team. He does have a completed Scotty, so just an absolute disaster to deal with. Anti-Mage is going to be blinking in, trying to clean up these creeps. Is he going to find Slark? Slark is sitting pretty aggressively in lane, but will be backing off, as he does see 3 Dire heroes ready to engage on him if he needs to. But, Dire are stuck in their fountain right now. They can't leave. They're getting picked off every time they step down onto low ground, and I don't know what they need. Do they need a really aggressive RP? They are going to, looks like they're trying to get it, and they are going to pick off Vanity. Queen of Pain getting a much needed kill for himself, but she's sitting at 6, 12, and 15, which is just not where you'd like to see a Queen of Pain. Yeah, she isn't punished as heavily for deaths as, someone like an Anti-Mage or someone like a Magnus, but she just needs those early kills, and only having 6 to her name at 30 minutes in the game is not where she'd like to be. She is going to be picking herself up a Necro Book, which I don't like. I think it could be viable in certain situations, but in this game, she doesn't need the rat, she needs the damage, she needs the survivability. I don't think a Necro Book would be a smart pickup at all. It looks like, Slark's going to be going in very deeply on this Ancient Apparition, picking him off. Once again, looks like a second set of racks will be going in favor of the Radiant. I don't see how Dire are going to be back in this game. Their main damage dealers aren't dealing the damage that they need to, and they don't have survivability. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going down once again to the Slark. He's able to really dive deeply. Does have a basher and a Scotty for himself, so that slow and that stop from the bash are doing so much damage. And it looks like, I mean, it's solo RP coming onto Klinks, but what backup is there? Going to be taking him into a Rubik who's going to telekinesis right up the Magnus. It looks like Rubik does have Skewer if he needs to use it. Tritka looks like he might be trying to go down, four-staffs himself back to safety. Slark is actually going to end up going down off of the back of that, so beautiful pickup for the Dire team. I wasn't expecting him to go down, I was expecting him to pick up some more kills, but Anti-Mage definitely helping out himself. He does use that Manta very, very well, as his illusions are going to be dealing a lot of damage. Down bottom, Rubik's going to be picking up that Bounty Rune, is going to cash it off right away. Does have a Ghost Scepter, which I think is a smart pickup for Rubik, because he's been playing so aggressively and putting himself in really offensive situations, but if something goes bad, he does need that escape mechanism to get himself out of there. Anti-Mage going to be going in pretty deep against Vanity. Is going to be able to get the pick off. I think Anti-Mage going to be doing so much damage against him. Holy cow. Does get shuked a little bit as Skywrath Mage is able to go in the trees. Good use of Manta, maybe trying to bait out Vanity's... Oh man, this little patch of trees has been so helpful for Vanity. He's doing exactly what he needs to get away, but it looks like beautiful telekinesis up from the Rubik. Skywrath Mage ult being popped, but it looks like Rubik will be hit by an Ancient Apparition blast, and Terodius on the back lines is able to pick off that Skywrath Mage that he chased so valiantly. Is definitely in that offensive position that he needs to be in at 32 minutes in the game. Is this, is this the Anti-Mage coming online at this point in the game? Is he going to be able to do that damage that he needs to really control the game? Ice Smoke with Snoop is going to blink really aggressively, but he should regret that decision. He will get out, the Rubik will get out alive in this case, but that was more luck than skill. I think he needs to be a little more cautious, not that the Anti-Mage can do a lot of damage. Slark is going to go in very aggressively on Alibaba, who was out a little bit too far alone. Beautiful ult from the Ancient Apparition is going to be cashing on to the Slark, who pops his ult even though he cannot heal in his ultimate form. So I think Klink's just doing a heap of damage at this point, almost 350 a shot without a crit. Does have an Orchid, a Scotty, a Daedalus, but he might start falling off just a little bit as the Anti-Mage might start to put out more damage and have a little bit more sustain, but I think Dire do need to keep up their wards, keep up their vision, as he's just so slippery. He can run away so quickly, as well as the Slark. The Slark can also get away very, very quick. Another Roche coming out for the Dire team. Magnus seeing what he can do to skewer in, but definitely not quick enough. Klinks is going to be grabbing that Aegis, so just keeping himself very elusive, very hard to kill, and very much in control of the game. In terms of the XP graph, it did dip down pretty sharply in favor of the Dire, but Radiant are still sitting at a 1500 XP lead. In terms of gold, I think it's even more ridiculous. Yeah, about 25,000 in favor of the Radiant. So if you just think about how many more items you can build with 25,000 extra gold on the side of your team, that's something scary for the Dire team to walk into. No real item progression from the Slark at this point, although he does have 2,600 gold in the bank. Does have 1,500 on top of his buyback. Another tower going down, but beautiful call down, as well as a beautiful Ancient Apparition ult, definitely zoning out all of the Radiant heroes, as they should feel pretty scared to initiate in that situation. And it looks like there is going to be a little bit of a stalemate coming out here, although 1, 2, 3, 4 is pushing up a little bit aggressively into these Dire heroes. Beautiful RP coming out from the Magnus. He is able to get a 4-man RP, skewers them in. Wonderful Skywrath Mage ult coming out, but I don't think it's enough. I think Klinks might end up going down here on the back lines. Anti-Mage doing what he can, deflecting off that silence, does end up missing as Klinks is able to get away. That little slippery sucker. Although Slark is able to pick himself up. A kill on the back lines of that fight. He's going to take another Ancient Apparition blast. Terodius chasing after him as fast as he can. Does have that Basher doing a lot of work. Beautiful first hit bash on that. Thank the RNGesus. And it looks like a nice ultimate from the Anti-Mage will pop him down. Is this the beginning of a turnaround? I mean, the tier 4s are under fire. There's only one lane of racks left on the side of the Dire, but they are getting the kills they need on the big cores that they need to get the kills that they gotta get to get back in the game. So I think it's going to be working out a little bit. In terms of net worth, Anti-Mage has been climbing the chart. He's sitting at number 3. One more kill going in his favor. He could be at number 2, definitely bringing the Dire back into this fight, as they had just had such a crappy early game. Ancient Apparition, still no item progress. This poor guy has been absolutely buying out everything he needs to for his team. He can buy all this with his starting gold if he'd like to, so he's just having a really tough time getting items. At 35 minutes into the game, he needs an axe, he needs a Yules or a Force Staff or some sort of survivability mechanism, and he's not getting it. Radiant team are going to try to reevaluate their strategy, realizing that they're not perhaps quite as ready to end this game as they thought they were. They probably feel like, you know, they need to get one really coherent, tight fight together, and then they can go ahead and push to win, but I don't think they have that really long plan of attack. I don't think they can waste a whole lot more time before the Dire are going to get really, really beefy. I wouldn't say watch out for the Gyrocopter, as he only has, I mean, he's sitting last on the net worth chart in terms of everyone on both teams, so Gyrocopter's really not your concern, but the Ancient Apparition, the Anti-Mage is getting pretty much out of control. He's going to be blinking on to Vanity, who's going to be taking a homing missile to the face, but that homing missile won't even matter as the kill goes down first. But it looks like Clinks is going to be taking a lot of damage from Anti-Mage. Is under a sentry ward, little does he know. They do need just a little more vision to finish him off, and beautiful, once again, from Anti-Mage, able to get that kill that he needs onto the Clinks, and he is going to upgrade his Basher into an Abyssal. A nice RP onto the Slark. Is it going to do enough damage, though? I mean, Slark is just really tanky at this point. Necro units are going to be helping out with that vision and that extra damage. Beautiful ult from the Queen of Pain. It looks like a Ancient Apparition ult will finish him off. Does cancel whatever healing he'd get from his ult. And once again, Queen of Pain is able to pick herself up another kill, trying to make up for that really crappy early game she had in that solo offlane. I mean, those Necro units did do a lot of work, but that's just not something you want to see built on a Queen of Pain that's starving for damage and starving for health. I mean, I think the Ghost Scepter too is that extra survivability mechanism, which I'm not going to hate on her for that. I think she could have built something a little bit more aggressive, perhaps a Force Staff, or even just some damage to make it harder for the Radiant team to initiate on her, but that Ghost Scepter is going to be doing a lot of help if she's chased down in a position she doesn't want to be, and Vanity is now in a lot of trouble as the Dire heroes are able to push all the way up into the Radiant base. I was not expecting this turnaround from them. I thought they were going to be pretty much finished, as, I mean, their tier 4 towers were under attack. There's only, 49 hit points left on that tier 4 in the mid, but it looks like they're going to grab themselves a set of mid racks, which is going to help out so much countering that push that they had to deal with early on. Are they going to continue to push in here? There's only a Silencer and a Rubik up. Clinks is coming up in about 2 more seconds. Rubik is going to go ahead and steal a nice spell for himself. He's going to grab Blink, which is going to help him out a lot with that mobility if he needs it. And it looks like the Dire team are content to just go back and farm up, as they've realized that the late game is in their favor. Slark and Clinks are the big boys on the side of the Radiant, but can the Anti-Mage get that much more farm? And I think he can. He's shown how much damage he can do with an Abyssal and some lucky first hit bashes. Gyrocopter going to be working on some drums at 40 minutes in the game. This guy, for all the smack talk he did early on, definitely has not had a lot of game impact, sitting at, pretty good items for 15 minutes in the game rather than 40, so I just don't think he has anything he needs to be really, really productive. It looks like a smoke is going to be coming up for the Dire team. Are they going to be trying to go into Roche, which won't quite be up yet? It looks like it is going to be a long respawn timer on that one. Looks like they are just going to be going for an aggressive roam. Slark pushing up the front lines of this, as well as I Smoke with Snoop going to be rotating in. Are they going to find out the Dire heroes that are going to be waiting in this backlines? It looks like Smoke is going to be popped as Prince Aliyababa does go in, using the Necro units pretty aggressively on that one, but Survival of the Fittest is going to get caught out really, really out of position, as he was the last one in line on the side of the Radiant heroes. Beautiful call down from the Gyrocopter is going to accomplish a lot. Shout off the Queen of Pain isn't going to do as much as it really should, but Anti-Mage picking himself an ultra kill on the backlines of that fight, and man, I said this guy needed kills, I said this guy needed late game snowball, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's doing a great job of getting back in that game, as he had a lot of trouble participating, but he's doing now what an Anti-Mage needs to do. He's getting those late game kills, and he's now, he's out of the jungle, he's done farming, he's got the items he needs to be really productive, and he's going to go win the game. Looks like Rubik is going to be stealing up that Blink, but I don't know how much help that's going to be for the Rubik. Looks like they are going to be going just for a straight tower push, and I think there's nothing wrong with that, as Silence is going to buy back in the game, but how much can he do to a fed Anti-Mage, as Anti-Mage is going to get that Abyssal on him. Beautiful skewer by the Magnus, and that damage is just so strong coming out from Terodius. He's going to be silenced up. Will he end up going down here? Doesn't look like it. AA ults from all the way across the map is going to be doing a lot of damage. Game is paused by the Skywrath Mage. there's going to be some reports coming out, and it looks like this game is going to be going to the Dire team. Just in terms of XP, that beautiful mountain that was climbed and overcome by the Dire, they're doing exactly what they needed to do to get back in here. And I don't know if that's because the Radiant heroes fell off, or the Dire just were suddenly struck with the determination they needed to get back in the game, but they did it somehow. They overcame every possible misadvantage they could have had. Beautifully done by, I'd say, all members of the Dire team, except, man, that gyrocopter just really didn't seem to add a lot. The cooldowns were very well placed for most of the fights, but he didn't have any big items. He didn't have the Aghanims that would have helped out his team a whole bunch. Didn't really have a lot of kill participation, but I mean, he did what he needed with those ultimates, and I think the smack talk early on just probably put his team in a little bit of a sour mood, but definitely not something they couldn't overcome. MVP on the side of the Dire is 100% Terodius on the anti-mage with 18 kills and only 4 deaths to his name, so I think he had a little bit of a struggle early game. He had the room he needed to farm, but didn't quite get the items and the kill participation he needed till later on. But man, that ultra kill, some of those double kills in his name were just really well done and slowed down the Radiant. They weren't able to all be up at the same time to push down the final remaining set of racks on the side of the Dire. So beautifully played by everyone involved. Thank you so much, Terodius, for submitting this game. It was a lot of fun to watch and to cast. I was not expecting the turnaround to be so wonderful to watch. And if you enjoyed my casting, feel free to head over to dotacasters.com. Look for the Android profile. You can submit either a time slot that you're going to be playing a live game that you'd like me to cast, or a match ID of a really nice replay you'd like me to cast, and I would be more than happy to do that for you. So thank you so much for watching. Once again, I'm Annie, aka Android, and I hope you enjoyed what you saw. Thank you. Bye.